We can think immediately of someone who thinks they are master over all. History has been littered, hasn't it, with many dictators that have come and gone, and whilst the world at the moment is in a precarious predicament, and the future looks wobbly to say the least, I find great comfort in these words from the Psalms. Psalm 46 verse 6 says that nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. God lifts his voice and the earth melts. And then again, Psalm 2 verse 4 talks about kingdoms rising and falling, and it says, the one enthroned in heaven laughs, the Lord scoffs at them. Particularly about those kingdoms that threaten us or are against God himself. Both references give us a reassuring, deeper perspective that there's more going on than meets the eye. There is one who is master of all. He's not a tyrant. He's good. He's also powerful. He's the same yesterday, today and forever. He doesn't shift like shifting shadows. In other words, we can have confidence in our good God who is consistently good. Moses said the following, Sovereign Lord or Master of all, you have begun to show to your servant your greatness and your strong hand. Moses was speaking from extensive experience after leading an entire nation bound in slavery out of Egypt. He had watched this almighty God humble the arrogant world leader called Pharaoh. And the name used for Lord or Adonai literally means master of all. It's curious that the biggest cause of wars and disputes is probably this question of ownership, particularly of land. For example, Alsace and Lorraine became the focus of a squabble that ignited World War I. Generally, modern international law respects the right of people to their own land, albeit with conflicting claims in various regions around the globe. History has some dark chapters, doesn't it, of colonization and even genocide. Perhaps what we rarely think of is that God as creator and ruler also has ownership claims over the land of all the world. In fact, he holds the whole world in his hands. And yes, parcels of land may be loaned to inhabitants of various tribes and tongues, but ultimately, it's God's world. He is still master and ruler of it all. However, there are implications of this all-encompassing name of God, Master of all, that can get a lot more uncomfortable than that. If all of the resources that we have and use are just a loan from God, it follows that life itself is also a loan. In fact, even the breath we breathe is a gift from God himself. It's fair to suggest that in God's eyes at least, he owns us too. That might make you squirm in your seat. This would be beyond uncomfortable if God were a tyrannical dictator, but he's not. Instead, God's ownership involves him investing in our well-being. Incredibly, for those who are believers in Jesus, he argues for obedience based upon the sacrifice of Jesus for us. Paul says in Corinthians, you are not your own, you are bought at a price, because God has given everything. Jesus has stepped into history to rescue us from ourselves, to redeem or buy us back for God. He paid a heavy price to prize us away from the destructive power of self-rule. The way we deal with God is often a lot like how a wild stallion reacts to a cowboy. When a cowboy first tries to ride the stallion makes it clear that he doesn't want anyone on its back. Time and time again, the stallion bucks the cowboy off. Yet the cowboy keeps climbing back on until the horse finally discovers and submits that the cowboy is in charge. Many of us don't experience, this is a quote from Tony Evans, he says, many of us don't experience the destiny God has for us because every time God tries to direct and guide us, we try to buck him off. We kick our legs, we tell him, I own my life, I own my destiny, I want to do my own thing. So as we think of resting in this name of God, Master of all, let me suggest that rest is only found when we lift up the white flag of surrender to the Master of all. Only then can we enjoy being owned by the good King that holds us all in his hands. May God bless you today. I'm your host, Matt Tuttleby of Bundoran Bible Reflections.